I'm a child abuse survivor. I'm a childhood trauma survivor. I'm a molestation survivor. I'm a foster system survivor. I'm a human trafficking survivor. I'm an emotional abuse survivor. I'm a childhood starvation survivor. I'm a whitewashing survivor. I'm a Catholic Church survivor. I'm an all-white school survivor. I'm an all-white community survivor. I'm a CPTSD survivor. I'm a ward of the state survivor. I'm a failed reunion survivor. I'm a suicide ideation survivor. I'm a extreme depression survivor. I'm a Ritalin survivor. I'm an asthma survivor. The first memory of my life was being hit by a black woman in a small kitchen in Detroit for peeing my diaper. I was hit repeatedly. No caressing, no hugging, no breastfeeding. First memory of my life, first memory here was being beat by someone who I had no idea who she was. I remember the kitchen. I remember the old radiator and the smell of bacon grease. So already then, I was growing a hatred for what I didn't understand. I started to see women as the enemy. There was also a little foster girl in my memory, and she was in one of those little walkers in the kitchen. I remember acting out, pushing her down the basement stairs to the dark basement. I don't know what happened to her. Then the next memory was of eating soup in a place I don't really realize, or I don't remember, but apparently I went to maybe 5 or 6 foster homes. In some of those foster homes, I experienced two things: sexual molestation and starvation. My stomach got bloated. My arms were weak. I could barely move. Then at that time, I was fostered by the current foster family, the white Irish Catholic family. They fostered me and other children as well. I was given vitamins, food, and stuff to bring me back from the brink, which I'm heavily grateful I grew connected to the closest adoptive brother to me. Big house, pool, basement, so on. So after some time there, someone visited from the state and attempted to remove me from the house because I'm not sure. My adoptive parents say it's because I'm a different color than them, but I think differently now. Because those adopted people that brought me back, unfortunately, are racists and narcissists. Why? They brought you back. This gets very complicated. Growing up, I felt like my adopted mother was trying to connect with me physically, and I didn't want it because I'm still dealing with the trauma of what I've been through as a child. Um, I didn't want her to kiss me, didn't want her to hug me. I think she may have took that as rejection and being ungrateful, and so I don't know. She started acting a certain way, having an attitude towards me later in the years. The rest of their natural children were seemingly resentful that I was adopted. The rest of them are white, by the way. I was the only black member of the family. But back to being taken away by the state, they ended up suing the state to bring me back into the home, and were noticed by Oprah Winfrey, and they went onto the Oprah Winfrey show about it. It was a big deal in papers and stuff like that. The court case was in papers, and so growing up, they get me back. I get piano lessons. Being raised in an all-white community, um, I only really connected with one person, and that was older adopted brother. But during the time I was being taken to a piano lesson, I guess I didn't want to go, and I started acting out and hitting the seat behind my adopted mother, just having a meltdown, screaming and just. So apparently, after I did that, she went home. I guess she was so afraid of the situation, she threw up, and the rest of the adoptive family never forgave me for that, and they all started hating me for that. And I felt extreme guilt because of that. But now as an adult, I realized that out of all the trauma that I've been through, it's never really been taken care of in the proper way. So I was just constantly acting out of pain, out of everything. Because I had so many questions about my past before, and a lot of it was just, okay, we adopted you. You should be grateful. Don't ask any questions. Even if they didn't say it, it was just frowned upon. Don't ask about your past and stuff like that. Just be grateful. There was a lot of love bombing. Christmases, there were a lot of presents, but I didn't know that was love bombing at the time, but now I do. But growing up, there was never any real conversations from heart to heart. You'd be surprised. You think the people that brought me back to nutrition, got me allergy shots and stuff like that, the whole nine, would want to really connect, have an honest conversation. That wasn't the case. I was just supposed to be seen and not heard. Supposed to be a sign of the good deed that my adoptive family has done. But growing up, the confusion, it just started to take a toll on me. because I had questions, I had needs, I had to know who I was, where I came from. We went to Catholic church every Sunday, and not only was I the only black man in the community, I was the only black man in the schools, private school, Catholic school, and the church. Well, I started to learn about the Catholic Church's role in slavery. I started studying black heritage and stuff like that. And so that's when it all began. Because before that, I remember saying that I hated being black. I wish I were white. But that was the pinnacle of the whitewashing. When you're surrounded by white people, have little white neighborhood friends, and surrounded by white people every day, you begin to look at yourself. Why do I look different? What's wrong with me? Growing up in my teens, I was given something to turn me around. I hated the color of my skin. I hated being black, hated black women, really didn't like black people, even though I didn't spend much time around them. I got a Bob Marley CD that kind of flipped everything and really inspired my want to study black ancestry. But that really started to turn my adoptive family against me because they didn't have any black friends and they didn't have any interest in black studies. And really, now that I'm older, I realize they didn't have an interest in me. I was just this mascot that was annoyingly adopted by their mother. So I buried everything. Even racism that I experienced, I buried because I felt like I was putting them I was asking too much for them to side with me against racism. I felt embarrassed even asking them. Like I shouldn't. I should just be grateful. So I buried a lot of it. And then anger started to form. Then I went to the piano. All my emotions that I couldn't express was expressed on the piano. And that's when piano became my therapist, my shrink. It seemed like there was an unwritten rule for my adoptive family as I was growing older that one white member of the family could not chastise another one on my behalf. And something I was never something I was never asked in my life was like, what emotions are you feeling? I was never asked that. Never. Because they were emotional abusers, narcissists. And so is the family. They're gaslighters. So the more I started to realizing the truth about the situation, who am I? Who are black people? What have black people been through in this country? Police brutality, Jim Crow, all the things that are a reality for black people. The more I started to delve into that, the more the greater divide started happening with my adoptive family and myself. To the point where I feel like they didn't try to incorporate any black culture in their lives or have any black friends. And I was the one that was trying 100% to go to St. Patrick's Day things, to go on their level, to conversate with them about what they like. But I didn't feel like they had any of the reverse coming back to me. So growing up, I ended up going to, after I went to a black private high school, exposed around black folk, but I didn't really feel a connection because I always felt different. And then I went back to a white private high school with my old white neighborhood friends. Nothing much came out of that. Almost didn't graduate high school. Um, my adoptive parents pulled some strings. They knew the priest there, and so, but I really wasn't. I was crazy. I really was out of my head. I wasn't dealing with the trauma. I wasn't dealing with my emotions. I was just going through life, the constant token, the constant mascot, trying to make people laugh, trying to be charming, trying to be a people pleaser. Then after high school, I went to Henry Ford. Then I went to a community college, Henry Ford. And I went to Western Michigan, joined a white fraternity. At the request of one of my white grade school friends. Man, I was so messed up in that. Left that fraternity. Then that's when I really started delving deep into black studies, like really. Went back to Wayne State, became an Africana Studies major. And at that point, was learning about people about Khalid Muhammad and Malcolm X all by myself. See, I didn't know that if you had an emotionally tough time, you're supposed to go to someone and have a heart-to-heart conversation. That's completely foreign to me. So I would just bury it and go to the keys. So then I began hating white people. I still had hate for black women and dislike for black people. But even through learning the history, and I began to grow an appreciation for my own people. I tell you, that whitewashing is real. And you have to fight it. You have to battle it. Every day. You win, you lose. You have to make it the intention. I'm going to get rid of this whitewashing. I'm going to get rid of this dislike for my own people. If you don't do that, it's never going to happen. And it was a hell. It was a battle. I had to isolate myself. Read books on my own, listen to lectures on my own, learned a little Kiswahili, read some banned books, all on my own. Never really had any girlfriends. Played around with this white girl, but she was just experimenting. Experimented with this black girl in college, but it never stuck. I didn't know who I was. It's hell, psychological hell, because black people see you as well off because you're in the suburbs, you're with white people, but they don't know the hell you're going through. No grandmother, no grandfather, no black father, no black mother, no one to tell you what to do, no one to model yourself about, and there's no one to run to if you experience racism, because a lot of your adopted family feels the same way as the racists. So you have to bury all of it. And the only place you can go is the keys, the piano. If I can do my life over again, I'd focus on healing the trauma. I'd speak out about molestation. I'd speak out about the human trafficking, the foster system. Adoptees deal with so much, especially transracial adoptees. I am a child abuse survivor. I am an emotional neglect survivor. I am a molestation survivor. I am a whitewashing survivor. I'm a human trafficking survivor. I am a transracial adoptee.